Employees at the student loan company named in a major lawsuit aimed at blocking Biden's student debt relief program are confused. They're confused about their involvement in the case. So now, according to a report in Insider, the case involving Biden's student debt forgiveness plan has confused employees about why their company is even involved, especially again since this case involves standing. So we'll get to that. All right. So late last year, 6 GOP-led states filed one of the lawsuits that had blocked Biden's plan to cancel up to $20,000 in student loan debt for federal borrowers. They argued that this would hurt. This is one of the two cases. It would hurt their state's tax revenue. Yes, to forgive a small amount of student loan debt would hurt their tax revenues from collecting, from these companies being able to collect on that student loan debt. Now, one of them is the MOHELA. According to emails from the MOHELA released by the Student Borrower Protection Center, these emails not only show the employees' confusion about the company's role in the lawsuit, but also, again, going to say, we really don't have standing, do we? I mean, it feels like we don't have any standing. In fact, one employee wrote on September 29th, the same day the lawsuit was filed, quote, "Did we know in advance this was going to happen? Have complaints been made to the AG about us? Or is he making that up to give him cause for calling us out?" So again, people that are working there didn't even know until the day it was filed that, oh man, it appears that there are some complaints here about this student debt forgiveness plan somehow negatively impacting the state. That's news to us. Now, there's more. One says, no, I think MOHELA was opposed to this move, but couldn't do anything about it. The MO State AG needed to claim that our borrowers were harmed for standing, so they're making us look bad by filing this not only with the MO on it, but especially bad because they filed it in Missouri. Another employee responded, referring to the burden the plaintiff has to prove that they would directly be harmed by the challenged policy. Again, there isn't anybody who is harmed by this. You're not harmed by debt forgiveness. You can say, well, I don't have any debt, but I'm harmed because I had to pay debt once before. No, that's not a real argument. That's like saying, my great grandfather died of smallpox, and now I am adversely affected because that smallpox vaccine. You see, it should have been around for my great grandfather, and now I am adversely affected somehow. No, there's no standing there. It doesn't make any sense. And yes, if you think that's nonsensical, that's exactly what they're arguing. Oh, if you forgive these people's student loans, then that somehow adversely affects those who had previously paid their student loans. Now, in this case, it's you're hurting my tax revenues by now somehow forgiving just a little bit of this debt, up to $20,000. Somehow we're not going to get as much tax revenue from collecting that from, because the state is partnered with these companies that are doing the collections. You see, no, that's a terrible argument, but they're going with it. That's what they're doing. It's absolutely ridiculous, but unfortunately, it's going to the Supreme Court. Here's more. One more employee had asked on October 12th, quote, "Just out of curiosity, is MOHELA part of the lawsuit going on to prevent loan forgiveness? Are we the bad guys?" Are we the baddies? I mean, if you're one of the people that are attempting to block student debt relief, then yes, you are the baddies. But for these employees, they're like, wait, we didn't do anything. We're actually fine with this. Why are you invoking our company using us as an example to try to block this. This is ridiculous. In fact, according to a information request from Representative Cori Bush, this case does not involve MOHELA at all. In fact, quote, they wrote back, MOHELA executives were not involved with the decision of the Missouri Attorney General's office to file for the preliminary injunction in federal court on September 29th, 2022. Furthermore, the employees have been, and you've seen some of this, frustrated by the AG using them. Quote, it has nothing to do with us, except that they're using the MO Consumers Harm as standing. No complaints about MOHELA that I'm aware of had anything to do with this, one employee wrote on September 29th. Well, you know what this does? This blows a gigantic hole in their case. Again, they have to prove harm. But nobody's been harmed by this. They don't have any examples of people being harmed. In fact, the people that are working there and dealing with consumers who are going to have some of their debt, a big portion of it or a small portion of it, depending on how much you have, forgiven by the federal government, by Joe Biden, there actually would be harmed more if they would actually be harmed, I should say, if the forgiveness does not go through. So it's literally the opposite here. Wait, you say that there's harm in forgiveness, but in reality, not forgiving is actually way more harmful. And that's, by the way, what the Republicans are trying to do, is that they're trying to harm students more. They recently tried to pass a bill, which, again, failed in the Senate. But they tried to pass, they tried to pass a bill to not only end the payment pause, which, again, is already ended, but to end it sooner and to add retroactive interest to the payments. So that's what they're doing. That's what Republicans are trying to do. So understand what they are doing. Now, that said, according to Insider, during oral arguments at the Supreme Court back in February, James Campbell, the Solicitor General for Nebraska, who represented the 6 GOP-led states, defended MOHELA's role in the case, saying, quote, Missouri has an ultimate interest in the property of MOHELA. We believe that as a matter of law, that the state has the authority to assert its interests. But they're not. But they're not. What interest do they have in blocking student debt relief? I mean, again, there is no interest other than for, again, Republicans to make students suffer. That's the interest here. And to block Republicans from taking a small political win. And that's what that is, a small political win. Republicans want to punish people with predatory student loan debt. Make the argument that no one but the rich should get educated, a higher education, and deprive Democrats, again, of a political, small policy win that could lead to, by the way, it could set a precedent here. Biden does this. Later on, wants to prevent a president later on from using this as precedent to say, okay, well, this got challenged in court. A more progressive president to say, we're just going to cancel all of it. Because right now, this is a Band-Aid. And anybody who criticizes this to say that it's a Band-Aid, I agree. It is a Band-Aid. It's not going to fix the problem. In fact, what should be done is you have to attack the problem at the root. You have to make colleges and universities that are public tuition free. There you go. That would solve the problem of amassing debt in the first place and then do full cancellation. Doing this Band-Aid, and that's what it is just going to set it up for more people to continue to have debt. You haven't fixed the problem. You've just, again, slapped a Band-Aid on it, and that's really it. So if you set a precedent later on down the road that a president can invoke the HEROES Act during an emergency, the next time there's an emergency, Biden could even call a climate emergency and invoke this as well, or any president, to be able to cancel these debts. Republicans do not want that to happen. And so it is no surprise to see Republicans making up these nonsense arguments about groups saying that they've been impacted when they really haven't been, in a way to block this relief. The only debt relief the right wing believes in is debt relief for the rich and corporations. Now, that said, this, again, blows a giant hole in their defense, but this has gone to the Supreme Court. Now, again, I've been hearing about Justice Amy Coney Barrett not really buying the states' arguments, the 6 Republican states against, forgiveness. But that's just one. Remember, we have a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court. And at the end of the day, there's enough of them to come in and just completely ignore the realities here, ignore it, and become activist judges and say, doesn't matter, we don't like it anyway, and we don't think the president should have the authority to cancel student loan debt because we don't like it. That certainly is something that could happen. And so I'm pretty skeptical that we will end up getting this relief. But they could still prove me wrong.